request all the alumni who have connected with us through YouTube to drop their questions, if any, in the YouTube live chat box, which we'll pick up at the end. We, the Corporate Engagement Committee, bring to you the first conversation of the third season under Careers and Conversations, an elite and exclusive platform to gather with eminent speakers across different walks of life, reflecting on their professional and personal voyages. This platform aims to provide ample learning opportunities through real-life stories to faculty, students, and the alumni alike. Today, we delve into the theme of the Big Four, interplay of people, purpose, presence, and performance.
And we are truly privileged to welcome our guest, Ms. Bhawana Mishra, Founder and Managing Director of BasilTree Consulting. The conversation will be led by Raman Sir, Director, KJSIM Institute of Management, and Dean, Faculty of Management Studies. Now, I would request our Faculty Head of the Corporate Engagement Committee, Arun Thukral Sir, Professor of Practice and Lead Corporate Relations, to introduce today's guest.
Thank you, Ansh. It's my honor to introduce Bhawana Mishra, who brings over 25 years of experience across the domains of talent strategy, leadership development, and organizational transformation. She began her career with PwC, spent around 3 years, and then moved to Arthur Andersen, spent another 2.5 years, before getting into a much longer inning of over a decade with SHL Group, India, transforming it into the largest leadership assessment business in Asia. And then she set her own venture, BasilTree, since 2014. Her expertise lies in blending occupational psychology with business insights, empowering organizations to achieve breakthrough performance by unlocking the potential of the people. As the founder of BasilTree Consulting, she continues to advise Indian and global companies, boards, and CEOs on aligning people and culture with strategic goals. Ms. Mishra also serves as an independent director on the board of GMM Pfaudler and non-executive director at Zivagro Limited, and is recognized as a thought leader in the talent development space. And before Dr. Raman initiates the conversation, I would request you, sir, to felicitate our guest.
This shawl, woven by the artisans of Somaiya Kala Vidya, is a symbol of our gratitude and admiration.
Thank you. So over to you, sir. Leave it to you. Thank you.
Can you hear me? Yeah. So, good afternoon, all of you. Really nice to see a very, very large turnout on this first of season 3 of Careers and Conversation. And as Arun said, you know, we have Bhawana Mishra, and for the next 45 minutes you will hear, and I'm sure you will also realize what a wonderful person she is and what a career she has made for herself. My first, and I just realized as she was reading out your CV that our encounter was early on in your entrepreneurship career, right? I mean, 2015 or so, when I was the managing director of BSF India, and Bhawana was a consultant who helped us a lot in actually developing our own talent strategy and identifying some of the future talents. Many of them are, by the way, CEOs of other companies now or within BSF at global levels. So thank you very much for all that support. So Bhawana, so this is, as I explained to you earlier, and for the benefit of the students here who are first years, many of you I think, one objective of this is to enable our students here to understand that when you have a career and when you make a career, there are lots of decisions that you take and you don't take, and lots of certain characteristics such as your ability to kind of get out of your comfort zone, learn new things, a lot of things that are at interplay, and as you have rightly pointed out in your in the title that you have chosen, which eventually leads to a successful career, and more than a successful career, and also a happy career and a contented and satisfied career. And I think we cannot really think of a better person to talk to our students about that. You will have multiple such people coming, giving multiple kind of perspectives about career, how careers develop. And I would like all of you to really seriously listen to this. Some of it may not be useful today, but maybe 3 years, 5 years from now, there'll be a light bulb that strikes you and says, I remember now reading it from, listening this from Bhawana, and it makes sense to me now. Yeah. So Bhawana, the way we are going to start this conversation is, I'm going to really ask you to think about your early, days, perhaps your childhood, school, and other kind of events. Are there people who inspired to take the kind of career that you have currently have had, or was it a matter of coincidences and choices that you made early on in the career? So let's start there, and then we will kind of move forward. Yeah. So over to you. Yeah.
Am I audible? Am I audible? No. I think this needs help. Am I audible? Yes. I'm audible because of the mic, or I'm audible because I'm audible? Okay, great. Okay.
At the back there, can you hear? Okay, good.
No, I'm not audible. He's saying not really. Quick one for the folks at the back. Can you hear me well? Oh yeah, okay, we've got thumbs ups there. Okay, great. Raman, I don't think it's even possible that we set out with life having crafted a career that goes as per, this is what I want to do, and we look back and say this is how it went. That's not possible, right? I don't think anybody goes through that, and that couldn't be fun either, because then that's like a robotic existence. So my life was much like that. It actually, my first major experience really happened in school, which was my first realization when I finished school of what I didn't want to do. And I think that sort of set me going with whatever else came later. And that realization was that science wasn't cut out for me. I was not going to be a core biology, physics, and chemistry person, much as I enjoyed them, but I didn't know what much else to do with them. So I went for psychology, where for the first time I found what my passion was. So that was my second most critical experience, that the day you discover, it's not just a saying when they say the day you find what is it that you love to do, you don't have to work again anymore. That happened to me in my undergrad, when I realized that's what I was cut out for. I enjoyed it and thrived in it. And after a long gap of being an academically average student in my later years, having been stellar in the early years only because my mom controlled me, in college I suddenly became a good student again, only because I cared for it. So I chose to do my master's in psychology as opposed to an MBA. So that was my probably first conscious career decision that I made. Reason for that was that I can continue with psychology right now and do an MBA later, but not the other way around. It won't be very easy for me to do that. So that was the first conscious choice. And today, if I had to give gyan to folks out here, I think that would be the first thing, right? Of just trying to assess what is it that we love and really care for, that gives us happiness, that we want to stay up at night for, and wake up in the morning for if we are not morning people, and feel good about having done it. If we can crack that, the rest sort of falls in place. Maybe not easily, but I think that's the first foundation. So I chose to do my master's. My career, by this point, while I had chosen to do my master's, again, I told you earlier, my career started very serendipitously by someone sending me for internship to Price Waterhouse that I had never heard of at that point in time, not having done an MBA and being a psychology person. And then stayed on in consulting, and it's been over 25 years since then. But the one thing, the third thing that shaped me was your own passion, coupled with what I did right in the first 2, 3, 5 years, was just dogged work and giving it all I had, right? and that still hasn't gone out of fashion. So that was the third thing that shaped me in my early years, for sure, of just being at it and doing what needs to be done the best I possibly can, and giving all I have to it. And those early years then really shape and sort of define for who you become as a professional. So I'll pause at that, but I think those would be the first 2 or 3 early decisions. And then of course things happened over the course of the years, and we'll talk about that as we go along.
You talked about, two very key things that came out, and I think this gets often repeated in this forum, which is that first is trying to be very clear what is it that you don't want, right? And I think you had that recognition fairly early on, and then you also had a fairly early understanding of what you love, right? How common is this? And given the kind of diversity of people that you come across, particularly in the talent area, do you see this as a common phenomenon? Is there something that distinguishes people who have recognized this early on, rather than much later in life, as to what is it that I love?
Actually, some of it, I probably got plain lucky, but some of it is serendipitous, but some of it is conscious. What will help us understand what is it that I truly love is a function of the diverse experiences that I seek for myself.
Absolutely.
I didn't have that opportunity at that time, because I came into a corporate world that I came from a public sector government background. I had no idea what the working world looked like. So it was really, really new to me. But today we have the luxury of people interning and doing short internships or short programs, or time sort of industry interfaces with a variety of things.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And getting those experiences and trying to assimilate as to what is it that I really want to do. So one is that, and the efforts and the intention required to actively seek multiple experiences, diverse experiences. But equally, it's okay if we don't find it right then. Right? Because sometimes we just have to go through that journey, living our best every single day.
Absolutely.
Until that finds us or we find it, either way.
Yes.
And that may maybe at any point in time.
Great. I think it's really important because I think I discovered what I like much later in my life, right? So not everybody will be as fortunate, but continue to search. And I think the other key message is, really, and hopefully in this program you get this opportunity to have multiple experiences, right? Whether it is capstone or your summer internship program or live projects, all of these are places where you can get these experiences and really kind of figure out, do I like this? Does this really give me a kick, right? So, great. So moving on, so you got into PwC, and I think that was a lovely anecdote that you explained to me about, how you even had to leave with the people who originally hired you. You may want to share that, but and then you had, at least for the next maybe 10, 15 years with corporate, so maybe a little bit, particularly your long stint with SHL, and I think that's where you truly matched what you love with the purpose of the company and your own purpose. So spend a little bit about time talking to us about that stint with SHL and what made it so powerful impact on you and what impact you created on the organization. And then I want you to really dwell on, this whole entrepreneurship streak. How did that happen? Why did that happen? And when did you take that first step?
Sure. So I suppose when I was in what was then the Big Six world, they are now called the Big Four, because Price Waterhouse merged with Coopers and Lybrand and became PwC, and Arthur Andersen collapsed when the Enron crisis took place, roughly around the time the guys were born, the ones here today. But that was the smallest of what was then the Big Six world, and then they became Big Four, and the four continue until today. I learned everything I knew and I know today as far as consulting is concerned and business is concerned, and the concept of applying whatever you know to be able to help an organization do better in these large firms, right? So full credit to them. But remember, I had said earlier that at least personally for me, and nothing wrong with the firms, but I came from the world of psychology and I really enjoyed that and I wanted to pursue that. So again, serendipitously, SHL was looking for people in the country, and through somebody they reached out, and I went and met them, and it just fell in place, and that's when I joined the company. And to me, when I look back in hindsight, that became the first lesson that careers are not necessarily ladders that you traverse because you quit from one organization to the next. But careers are about experiences and about blocks of different kinds of experiences that you can gather. They can be in multiple organizations or they can be in the same organization. And I don't need to quit just because it doesn't look good on my CV because I've stayed in one place for so long. I enjoyed it. I got diverse experiences and I stayed on until I reached that point where, jokes aside, we were finally private equity owned and I was fed up of reporting quarterly numbers to a bunch of Goras sitting in London. But that aside, I enjoyed my whatever it is that I did right until the point when I stopped enjoying it and I said, okay, that's the point I've reached now where it needs to be something else because it's not fun anymore. So it's not necessarily about ladders, but I would call them portfolios of experiences, and SHL gave me that, tiny as an organization as it was.
Does that mean that you didn't have the classic growth in HSHL, but you were kind of did multiple things, lateral
I did
things?
multiple things. I grew, of course. I mean, my designation probably changed twice in a span of 12 years, but we grew, the business grew, and I dare say when I left for a long time, clients would say assessments in India or leadership assessments and development became what they did because SHL and I became synonymous with each other because it was just something that wasn't done in the industry at that point. So again, it goes back to idea is not to be pompous and grandiose about my work, but what I'm trying to say is that when we are able to align, and that's why the first of the 4 Ps is important, and that sequence, that word purpose is heavily misused today and the whole world brandishes it on LinkedIn. But really, when you are aligned to what is it that you want to do with whatever it is that your organization that you're a part of achieves and wants to do, when there's chemistry in that, it's magical.
Absolutely.
Then you don't want to leave. The rest of it will fall in place, right? You will grow. I mean, they have to go out of their way to not do all the right HR things, of course. And assuming that that doesn't happen, it should still be worthwhile. So that's, to me, that's a big lesson of the first of those 4 Ps. An alignment in what I'm seeking, what I want to do. Do I enjoy that? My personal purpose is I love to see companies and people lead better and be better led, right? How do workplaces get better? How do people have better careers? All of that. So if I enjoy doing that, and that's what my company does, whether it was SHL then or BasilTree now, I'm aligned to whatever it is that I do and the company does.
Okay. Yeah, so then this whole, I mean, you got frustrated with all this quarterly reporting, and that was the kind of trigger for you to start off on this.
That became the trigger for me because again, remember, if the joy is out of what you're delivering
doing
for
what you're doing,
and doing what you're doing, of course, there are some things that, and again, over 12 years I did that, right? I did enough MIS work, enough reporting. You can't be part of a large organization and everything you do morning to night is stuff that you love. So there will be 20-30% of things that either don't come naturally to you or that you do because you got to do them. You know, much like at home or much like in college today. I'm sure they don't love everything about the institute, but they deal with it, right? So much like that at the workplace as well. But when that quantum shifts to becoming the other way around, you need to then start asking yourself those existential questions. And that's why I said careers aren't really ladders to me. They are things that you look at in blocks, in clusters. And
ever so more, I think.
Keep asking yourself the question of whether that alignment is continuing or isn't.
Exactly, so coming back to, so you've spent, I mean, as you heard, almost 25 years in this whole space of talent management, identifying leaders, all that. And we briefed you about this whole concept of parivartan, where we have the nurture potential, where we are also kind of evaluating or assessing the competencies and helping them to understand themselves to some extent. So maybe if you could start off by telling us about how does the companies look for talent? What are the kind of criteria that they use? Where do you come in? And put that in the context of what we are trying to do. And you know, they've all just gone through, most of them, their own, you know, SHL psychometric tests. They've got their reports on their hand. What should they be looking for? What they should be careful about while looking at this report? So yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a good one, and my
Yeah, and
my favorite.
Yeah, she could probably speak for the next 45 minutes. So I'm going to just.
No. That's not happening. You know, so I must share this as an aside with you. Speaking of 45 minutes, I asked my Gen Z daughter. All of you are Gen Zs, right? So I asked my Gen Z daughter that what would her advice be, and that I was coming today for this conversation. She said, I don't care much about what you do speak, but I'll tell you what you should not do, right? And so she listed 3 things for me that I should not do. She said, first one, don't be cringy with jokes. Don't make jokes that people have to laugh at and only you think they're funny. Second, don't fake it. Don't fake anything. Just be who you are, because anyway. So that's the second. And the third, which stayed with me the most, is she said, don't be a teacher. They have enough of those around them because they're students. You be who you are. They don't need one more teacher out there. So no speaking for 45 minutes, not happening. Yeah. So I have to be conscious of whether. So she told me later, please come back and tell me you lived up to all those 3. Coming back to your question though, what do companies look for? There's a reason why I chose the 4 Ps to talk to you about today. That's what the companies will always look for, and it will never go out of fashion, right? The first one, we call that purpose, but purpose basically means your understanding of strategy, your business acumen, your connect with whatever it is that the organization wants to do, and alignment of who you are with that of the organizational purpose. So they will always look for that. So whether you go work for Axis Bank, or you go work for Aditya Birla Group, or you go work for a startup, there will always be a question of, do you get what that organization's business strategy is? You don't have to be a CEO to think strategically. You will always need to understand what the larger business context of the company is. So do you start with that? Yeah. So that's the first P in the 4. And they will always look for that, whether you are starting your career out or you are ready at CXO roles and knocking to be CEO. The second one is, how do you present yourself and how do you carry yourself? Again, it will never go out of fashion. Whatever the world may change and the generations can be called whatever, how do you present yourself? And it's not just the physical appearance of you, but do you present yourself with conviction, with belief, with presence, with an articulation, with influencing, with storytelling, which whatever that may be that's about you, how do you carry yourself and get your story across? That will never go out of fashion. They will always look for that. And that may vary a little bit based on roles and the organizations that you are a part of or going to be knocking on the doors of, but in some form or the other, they will always seek that. The third thing that they will always look for is your ability to relate to people. That's the third P, which is people, right? People sideways, who are your colleagues and collaborators, especially in early years. Are you able to work with others? Are you able to then, as you grow, work with those under you? And are you able to work upwards? And are you able to work outside, from not just within the organization, but the world outside as well, right? So your ability to work with people is always going to be vital. How do you manage them? How do you develop them? How do you inspire them? All of that. And finally, how do you use all these 3 Ps that I talked about to deliver performance? Organizations are commercial entities. That's the core purpose, ultimately, commercial organizations at least, or for that matter, non-commercial organizations, because they have their own goals. They may not be profit goals, but they will be whatever goals that they have for themselves. And are you able to deliver that? That comes through performance, which is your ability to execute, to deliver, to plan, to organize, to give output on time that is correct, and to cost parameters and all of that. So a lot of little things may reside under these, And different people have different strengths sitting under these, and it's important to understand that we should be at a certain threshold of all the four, but probably have a stronger affinity towards 1, 2, or 3 of the four. But these four per se, and that's the reason for the subject being what it is, these four will never go out of fashion. So, I'll pause.
That organization do define certain competencies, or particularly when it comes to senior executives, etc. And what kind of articulation of those competencies do you see? I mean, are they kind of generic and uniform across? Are there differences? And how important is it for an individual to understand their own, strengths amongst that? Yeah.
Yeah, look, the context to the competencies may vary, right? For one company that is going through massive growth and exponential expansion, the ability to think big, think future, think strategically may be vital. For another company that is coming out of a recessionary period and is looking to consolidate, your ability to think through a commercial mindset with a slightly more cost focus and business acumen and bring it all together, maybe a way they define their strategic thinking to be. So the definitions will vary a little bit, but they are not as universally different. That's the reason things like universal frameworks and models exist in the first place, right? Ultimately, we are human beings. We can only behave in so many ways, right? And those so many ways actually fall in the clusters of the 4 Ps that I've just talked about. Any competency framework, whether the SHL reports that you undergo or any others that you will as you grow in your careers and your employers put you through, they can all ultimately be grouped under these 4. The world will boil down to how we think, how we feel, how we relate to people, and how we execute and deliver. Those are the 4 broad clusters of behaviors.
So relating to people, they're all mostly coming out of it barely 1 or 2 years of experience, and I think very few would have had the privilege of being in multiple places, if they have been in the army background or a PSU background where your parents got transferred. And a typical tendency is not, kind of be comfortable with. And how can you kind of talk about this phenomenon, and how do you get out of this phenomenon and really overcome that fear, and how important it is as you get into the work world? Because we have a lot of, sometimes people who, students who don't want to go out of Mumbai. They got a job in Delhi or in some rural area, and they say, no, we don't want it. We only want it in Mumbai. Is this common? Is this something that could be preventing them from having a good career?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Let me take a live example and explain this. Yeah, why only them? Even later in life, let's take Aditya Birla Group. It's a potential employer to many of them, lots of companies within the group. And their EVP is a public proposition, employee value proposition. They say it's a world of opportunities, right? So you join us because we are so diverse, you can do anything that you want, really, from manufacturing to financial services and the whole spectrum, telecom and so on. Now, what's one of the biggest challenges? People want careers, and they say that we are willing to offer you all the careers, and that's my EVP itself. But you know what? I don't want to leave where my city is. My child goes to school here, my wife has a job, my something else is going on, my parents are aging, my whole base is in wherever, Renukut or wherever location I'm in, or Mumbai for that matter, and I'm therefore constrained. How are we going to build careers if we are not open to opportunities? Those opportunities are not going to only come to us in let's say Lower Parel, because I live there and I don't want to commute more than half an hour every day, right? So we have to reach the opportunity as opposed to always the opportunity to reach us. And it's going to be continually a buyer's market as well, because there will always be a lot of skill sets and people available for a relatively finite number of opportunities. So if we want something stellar, something's got to give as well. So I think breaking out of that comfort zone that you talked about is vital. In my own personal experience, I made that move when I joined SHL. I moved from Delhi to Bombay at that point, and very, very drastic shift that was for me locationally, and then stayed on here for the last 25 years. But it really did become the seminal moment for me as well. So I think each one has to, at some points in time in their careers, really be able to take that leap and do something extraordinary.
So one more question, then I'm going to open it up. So I'm sure this probably is going to come from some of the students as well, but I'll preempt it, which is that, and you're kind of being connected so close to the work world today with multiple organizations, and there's this whole discussion about Gen AI and how it's taking away jobs and how, you know, the whole work world is getting disrupted. So what are you sensing out there? Is there really things happening where jobs are getting redundant, and and of course I think needless to say these 4 P's are going to probably the one that is going to be relevant even in this turbulent world. But beyond that, are there things that particularly students or people who are starting off on their career need to think about as we start into this completely a world that we have never really seen before?
So around the time I was starting my career, the computers had come into the workplace, but in a modest sort of a way still, right? 90s, especially in India. But the world was saying, oh, the world is going to be taken over by computers. Human beings won't do these jobs. There were so many jobs that were supposed to be threatened and questioned and all of that, and computers were supposed to do that. But who used those computers, right? And we made them and we used them. So all that the Excels and the Words and PowerPoints did was enable our lives to be able to do things faster, better at that point in time, as opposed to doing that manually, right? And you will see if you go back to the the Instagram, those handles that carry those history images of 80s and 70s on how all the data analytics used to be done on these massive sheets that would be from there to here, and people climbed ladders to be able to do them. So these things basically replace those. The same phenomenon is happening today, right? Where we are getting a lot of insights and tools to be able to make our lives easier, better at the workplace as well. So what will change is only the nature of jobs, as they did 10, 15, 20 years ago and constantly have. But what is not going to change is whether human beings will do them or robots will do them. So robots can do robotic things that are easily possible, that customer service, first interface can happen, right? Ultimately then it's us who will be able to do more higher order jobs. So I think what that will result in is careers will probably get compressed and faster, because you will be able to do more out of less time. So you may not have careers that last 40 years or 50 years because things don't move as fast. So 40 is the new 50 and so on and so forth. So that's probably the only thing that may happen. It will be much more fast paced, which is also more fun at some level, right?
But it then calls for reinventing yourself all the time.
For people. And I would say reinventing is the new stability. There is no concept of stability that exists. So you will have to constantly ask yourself on whether you're upskilling, whether you're growing, whether you're able to build another facet to yourself, because every time you change a job, if I were your employer, I would ask you, what new skill did you acquire in the last 2 or 3 years that you invested in yourself, right?
Absolutely.
And if you can't give me a great answer to that, then how will you add value to me as a firm then? So that reinventing is really the new skill.
Yeah. So I think in the earlier conversation, you also kind of talked about the importance of having linked to the purpose, at least goals for yourself, right? And of course, right in the beginning, you started out by saying that while you set goals, not everything, but can you talk to us a little bit more about the importance of these goals and what kind of time frame should these goals be, and how would it look like for somebody starting off in their career?
It seems So I've been asked to use this. I should use this? Okay. Goals and dreams are different things. And we shouldn't mix them up. It's great to dream, and we need to have goals to support those dreams. So dreams can be, I want to become a CEO, but that's not your goal right now. That's a dream. That's an aspiration. Yeah. I want to be head of something, or I want to create my own enterprise, or I want to do this. All of that is great. It's beautiful because that becomes your compass, right? Your compass to work with the career map, if I can use a metaphor. But what goals do for you become, if I go from here to Goa by road, I have milestones, right, on the road. So the first 100 kilometers when I've crossed, then I know I've reached somewhere and I've covered some distance in my larger goal of reaching Goa. I reach Ratnagiri, I'm in the center. So goals are really literally just that, they're goalposts. So I think 2 to 3 years to 5 years is a good place in today's timelines. If you pushed me to come up with number of years, that would be a good timeline to work with as far as goals are concerned. And those goals should not just be about what the outcome is, but also what the process is that takes me there. And that process becomes my torch to lead me towards whatever that goal is. So I want to be able to do this after 3 years, for which I'm going to accomplish these 3 things along the way. And when I have done those 3 things, then I know that whether or not I've met the goal, some other goal will come my way.
Yeah.
But the journey is that much more fun.
Okay. Yeah. Great. So I think that's a good time to kind of open this up for questions. So the first one is always a little bit difficult one. So who wants to start?
Besides the 3 things that I said my Gen Z told me to do, I was also told Gen Zs judge the hardest. So yeah, let's see.
Hello ma'am, hello sir. Very fun talk today. I wanted to ask about like keeping your motivation up when you are in the middle of a job that has very mundane tasks and very repetitive tasks. How do you focus on bigger things? How do you focus on getting out of that that trap of thinking this is it, this is the end? How do you get out of that trap? How do you advise us to what mentality should we keep?
Wow, that's a good one. Probably the orientation to just learn through that phase as well, and acquire perhaps a new skill, because the rest of it is not in my control. But whether I can acquire a new skill and do something different is in my control. So one is that, which is what I will control, whatever it is that is in my span of control, right? So for those of you in the OB stream, locus of control will kick in, right? So how much of that resides inside you? So that's one. And the second is, it's okay to ask questions and seek. And you don't have to be in a stagnant career which is not taking you forward. So you are well within your right to go out and seek, provided you have delivered and performed at whatever you were asked to do as well. And that the new age well-run organization is very well equipped to do. So you don't need to be caught in the mundane for an excessively long period of time, because if somebody is not resolving that for you, then they're not doing their job very well. So it's okay for you to seek that, provided you've done your bit first. But all you guys, and it's unfortunate, and there's a lot of Gen Zs in my team, so I really enjoy working with them. And the reason I'm saying that is you guys are judged the hardest as well by people from this side, right? No generation has been labeled more than yours, right? From being called entitled to this, and they all want to be CEOs in 5 years, etc., etc. So a lot of stereotype goes around the concept of Gen Zs when you enter the workforce. So it will be incumbent upon you to also be able to demonstrate to the organization that you are living up to whatever it is that they're seeking from you. So long answer to your question, but you're well within your right to demand, provided you've delivered before that demand.
Dimension to this, which is that, and I think I can understand where you're coming from about the whole thing of mundane, repetitive things. And one way to look at it is, whatever repetitive stuff there is, you can add a level of excellence to it, right? By your attitude and how you do it. And I know some of my faculty have heard this before from me about this very famous statement that Martin Luther King, the black freedom fighter in the US, said. And he said, whatever you do, even if you're sweeping the floor, and this is actually about sweeping the floor, do it so well that the heavens open up and throw flowers on you, right? So even the simple thing like sweeping the floor, you can do at different, it's the most mundane, repetitive task, but you can do it at different levels of excellence and intent and sincerity. So I think in addition to whatever
Absolutely.
Bhavana said, I think if you do that, I think the organizations will recognize that excellence and passion in you.
Indeed. Someone right at the back.
Yeah, my name is Kapil. First of all, thank you, sir, thank you, ma'am, and thank you, KJSIM, for organizing such a thoughtful event. Truly sublime. I think right in the beginning, you said that the importance of passion and how being passionate or being in love with what you do makes work seem like play and not. Am I saying that right? Is in a nutshell, am I right about that?
Sure.
Sure. So, but there is a narrative amongst, I feel, founders. I'm an entrepreneur myself, but amongst, say, unicorn founders, that passion can only take you so far. And financial prudency or financial magnanimity of the sector you're involved in or the business that you're involved in should take precedence over passion. Because passion can only take you so far. It may answer the why, but it may not answer the how or what now. What's your take on that?
Passion is the reason why you do what you do, right? So, as I see it, that's the bloodstream. But that doesn't mean that that will show you through everything. So you're right in that sense. But to me, if I don't care for what is it that I do, then I'm just in a job. I'm just doing a thing to make money and to make my ends meet, right? But to me, that passion, and when you find what is it that you care for, Kapil, that's when you are ready to go beyond to do extraordinary things to see that as successful. Then will come a bunch of other things that you need to be able to succeed. Financial prudence is one of them. Of course you need to be financially prudent. Absolutely. You need to be a good people manager too. You can't not be as an entrepreneur especially, right? You also need to be able to understand tech and digital, because that's a vital part to any entrepreneur. So that list is extremely long, right? But the point that I was trying to make earlier on is, and which becomes vital to shaping careers, is to understand and identify for ourselves what gives us joy. Whether we do that as part of an organization or in an entrepreneurial way, it doesn't matter. You can be an entrepreneur even within an organization, because most organizations actually look for that. So this is again a big myth today that everybody who really has to succeed must quit working for a 9-to-5 job, quote unquote, and become an entrepreneur. That's again a stereotype that we're working towards. Most organizations will, if you demonstrate what they're seeking, will give you the opportunity to be very entrepreneurial and create things as well in the context of your own job. Does that answer that, Kapil, what you were seeking? Yes.
Hi ma'am, I'm Riddhi Sethi, and I wanted to ask you that we have just entered the MBA college and we are all trying to build a good portfolio. But I wanted to ask you that what is the best strategy I can follow at this point to create an actual good portfolio for myself for the coming next, the summer internships and as well as the final placements that will, help me out. And also, what domain knowledge should I start gaining at this point, which will help me get into the consulting roles?
Let me pick the second one first. Domain knowledge is a function of what you care for, Riddhi. So you should pick domain knowledge in whichever part of consulting you will go to. Consulting is a very broad domain, right? So you could be on the finance side, strategy side, people side, and so on. So your domain knowledge will be in whichever functional part of consulting you want to go to. That's one. And the second part will be whichever skills aid that functional part. So digital for finance, digital for people is a very different kind of skill. So you could acquire that as well after gaining the skills on managing people or whatever it is that you want to do. If you're on the creative side, how to use AI for being a better design person is also an enabling skill for that. So your domain knowledge has to be a function of whatever it is that you want to do in consulting. How do you build a great portfolio is not just about which brands you work for, because they represent labels. There is a value to them to some extent, but what you do within those internships is what is going to make the most difference. By the time you finish at the end of 2 months or 3 months, is your supervisor someone who could give you a recommendation letter that looked the best in the world? Suppose you were applying to an international university that goes heavily by recommendation. Would that person do that for you because you were that good? That's how you build your portfolio. Because one key thing that will last you for life is not just these things on your CV, but the relationships you build in these first 4-5 years of your work experience, because those are people who know they can trust you. When they give you a job to do they know that it will get done and get done superbly well? When you have a bunch of people who can say that about you, then you know that you've got a great portfolio going. Yes. Somebody in yellow shirt. Yeah.
Hi ma'am, I am Siddharth. And first I would like to thank you for putting all the things into such simple perspectives which make a lot of sense to us. Ma'am, if I were to ask you to reflect on your journey, which as you mentioned has been over 25 years now, I'm sure that there have been a lot of moments where you had some sort of doubt as to this is where my aspirations lie, and one metric that we all know is, let's say, self-belief, that yes, this is what I aspire to do, and then there is, should I go all in, should I recalibrate, or just letting it go, and to not to do it is also an important step. So again, to ask you that apart from self-belief, what other metrics that we as students can use right now?
Metrics to decide whether to do that or not?
Yeah, metrics to, let's say I aspire for X, and I am really passionate about it. So one metric is self-belief. Apart from that, what other I can use to, decide my future pathway?
Your skills to deliver that. I may like to do something, I don't know much about it. So then it's just a dream. So even before self-belief needs to come your self-understanding of, do I know about that or not? Because without that you can't go ask, right? And that's one of the reasons also why, when I was joking earlier about Gen Zs being judged, but some of it is real as well, right? And stereotypes get formed sometimes for a reason, right? When one thing happens one too often. And one of those is that people want to do things but really haven't earned it as yet. There's only so far self-belief can take you. What needs to come even before self-belief is capability. And nothing will ever go out of fashion slower than just knowing whatever it is that you've been asked to do, your capability. It cannot go out of fashion, whatever it is. The subject may change. So are you the best at that subject or in that top bracket? That's the only question you need to ask, whether to go for it or not to go for it. And then, of course, the self-belief and all of that, the ability to work with people, the 4 Ps, all of that will kick in. But your domain knowledge of whatever you're doing needs to be at a supreme level. There's someone here on the left end, and him. Yeah, we'll come to you next.
Hello, ma'am. Good evening. Firstly, thank you for having this wonderful conversation with Raman sir. Before coming to this conversation, I had lot of dilemma regarding my purpose. How should I go about? What should I do? But this has actually cleared lot of my doubts. And I specifically agree with your point on leaving the city, on going out. I also strongly believe कि कुछ करने के लिए घर से बाहर निकलना पड़ता है, बड़ा बनने के लिए घर से बाहर निकलना पड़ता है. But then there are certain situations, कुछ चीज़ें होती है कि हम घर में रुकना पड़ेगा हमें, या घर से हम ज़्यादा बाहर नहीं जा सकते. Like you talked about family, kids. These are things like people do consider this before switching to any career, or they may refuse to change their career even if it offers them growth and money or anything. They refuse to change their career because of their family and children. So my question to you and sir also is that what can companies do to solve this problem? Like one thing I can think about is having like remote work. This I can think about that they can have some kind of remote work, like one can stay in one place and then companies in the place. What all we can do? How can this problem be solved? Thank you.
You know, there's also that other saying of whoever, ask not what you can do, ask what you can do for country, etc. I can't remember the full words. But somewhere in this entire equation of careers, you have to know that it's not just the company's responsibility to solve all the problems of the career that you need to have and are going to have. And with all your constraints and whatever else, somehow the organization should be able to give you that, you know, whatever it is that we're dreaming of. So the concept of something's got to give then kicks in. So when we have constraints, and absolutely, I've had my share of constraints in life, so do all of us. At that point in time, we need to deal with those constraints as well and understand that they come at a cost to us. But remember, careers are not short-term things, they are long marathons as well. A constraint at one point when your speed slows down for a little while does not mean you will not catch up later when your constraint is behind you and you are able to get to the other side of it. So at that point in time, it needs to be a two-way process, much like any partnership, whether with your spouse or with parents or whoever else. You will give a little bit, the organization will give a little bit. To your point on remote work, for example, it's not always possible. All jobs don't lend themselves to remote working very well. In large corporations, productivity is a big issue. Not everyone is at the 99th percentile of conscientiousness, right? So work doesn't get done. Cost is a huge issue. So you're running employee costs and people are not always working. Those are real challenges, right? So it's very easy to say, but I can do it from home and it's remote work is possible. You may be super conscientious, but they allow that for you. They have to allow that for 100 other people who are not all as conscientious. So imagine they're running the salary cost of those 100 guys and getting work done for 30, right? So what I'm trying to say through this example is that it's a two-way process, and be prepared for that. That when you have constraints, you will have to give leeway to your organization as well to not always be able to solve that problem as well as you would have liked at that point in time. And that's okay, you will catch up with that as well. Yeah, I promised that I'll come to him, so we'll come to you next.
So hi, my name is Hitesh. I'm from MBA Division 6, and it was really a great session, which it was very well articulated. I had a question like, what made you think about starting your own firm? Like you mentioned about quarterly meets, but was it just one factor, or you were planning about this starting your own firm during your corporate journey? So what made you think, and what were the parameters which you decide? Because we Gen Zs also focus upon that, like maybe post 15 years or 20 years in the industry, we want to start something of our own.
No, sure, Hitesh, right? Yeah, Hitesh, that's a very valid question, and you should, and why not? We need more entrepreneurs in the country. So my point about quarterly reporting was a joke, but that was one of the many things that ultimately became the reason why I set out. By then I had worked, personally speaking for me, I had spent a lot of time in consulting, right? So going back, I needed to be true to myself in whatever it was that I did next. And working for one other firm, especially a big four, was not being true to myself. Having spent such a long time building a business that was like my own, and I went out there and told all my clients we're the best at what we do, I couldn't possibly go out there, work for another company, and still tell those same clients with confidence and belief that we're the best at what we do. What happened when you came from the other firm, right? So I couldn't do that. I was done with that, and I genuinely believed what I did, right? So at that point in time, for me, the only option then, and I had enjoyed being entrepreneurial in my firm itself, and it gave me that opportunity because we were small, perhaps, and more so. So what I wanted to do was then set out there and genuinely create something that was better than what I did. And to be able to say, these were the challenges you client you had with what is it that I did today. I'm here to address those challenges. That does not mean that's not the best at what they do, or that instrument is not the best at what it does, etc., etc. But here's an offering, here's something different, and we're the best at what we do, and I'm going to build something on the basis of that. So that was the reason for my reason to become an entrepreneur, to create a best that came out of India in the space that I cared for, the domain of people, talent, leadership, and to be able to look back and say that it was created just like the firms that I've already worked for. So those multinational firms were created by people like us, right? They all started maybe 50 years ago, and today they may be 50, 60-year-old firms, Korn Ferry, DDI, SHL, where I worked, and all these firms. But they were all regular people like us who made them. So I just thought, why not be one more such person and create one out of India? Yeah. Thank you.
Alam, who has joined us to the YouTube live, and he has questions for you. So he's asking, like, how is this field of consulting has been changed compared to the past, and how a tech professional like him can join this field now, like after having a technical background.
Consulting has changed to the extent that it's become more involved. It's less just outside in and telling the client from outside and giving knowledge on what we think should be done. The clients have that knowledge as well, right? So it's become much more practice-led, much more implementation-led, as opposed to only knowledge-led. So that's one shift that's taken place in consulting from the consultant's point of view. What's taken a shift from the client's point of view as well is an acceptance of the knowledge and learnings coming in, not necessarily from only large brands, right? And from only those that are established global entities, but are boutique niche firms as well. BasilTree is an example of that. We work with some of the largest corporations in the country today, and beat the big four to do that work as well, only because we are niche and know our job really, really well, and the clients respect that. So it's not only about brand and only about the tag that you go with. So subject matter rules. So that's as far as the change in consulting is concerned. For him to move, I don't know what tech he is in, but it would obviously be some domain-based consulting, unless he's a general manager who could then look at business consulting as well. But perhaps domain-based consulting with some of the technology consulting firms, there are several of them in the world, he could consider that as an option. Let's go to you. Somebody in the third row.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, ma'am. Thank you for, my name is Akash and I'm a fresher. Thank you for sharing so wide views about these. And I would like to ask, we have begun with purpose, presence, people and performance, right? And today corporations and recruiters have become more demanding. And they expect me to know about finance, about consulting, about the technological aspect of it. And I would like to ask that I'm interested in finance, but I don't like too much of tech and coding. So how can we cope up with that in that matter? How can we cope up with that? Should I focus only on financial aspect, or should I also consider the technical aspect of it? So that was my question. Thank you.
I'm not a subject matter person, so I can't give you a very credible answer to that, Akash. But I'll be very surprised if a large number of financial services organizations want you to have the financial skill set and coding skill set. That doesn't sound right. So there could be a gap there. And it's perfectly okay for you to go down to the domain that you care for and build the softer skills to support that as opposed to those functional skills. And if that means it eliminates a few employers from your potential employers set, then that's a choice that you can make because you don't want to do that. So you'll have to answer that for yourself.
Good afternoon, ma'am, sir, organizing team and my fellow attendees. My name is Akanksha Shukla. So I just want to start by saying we just started our organizational behavior classes. So this comes at a perfect timing and it makes it ever more exciting. What I wanted to say was that you started with how important it is for us to find our purpose and passion. But what even we sometimes struggle with is how do you pass on your purpose to others, especially when it can become a bit abstract to others. And in a field like consulting, how do you make others also in alignment with what your purpose is and to maybe quantify it or be able to pass it on to those around you?
Akanksha, I'm not sure it's your job to do that, to pass it on, because they have their own, right? So their response may be good for you and follow the journey that you want to follow. But in your early life, it may not be your responsibility to necessarily be the evangelist only for your purpose, right? Because each one will be on their own and believe that theirs is their calling. So this is something fairly internal to you. The alignment that you do need to ensure, Akanksha, is between whether your calling is aligned to that of your employer's calling, right? Because if that is misaligned, and suppose you are more altruistic and you want to contribute to society where your organization is constantly about profit at that point in time, and what you want to do does not align with that, then you can see there is a gap, right? So I think right now for you it's more about understanding who you are and finding an employer where who you are will be able to thrive because they respect that, care for that, and you respect what it is that they are out there to do. So that's probably more than as you grow, when the presence part of you builds and the people part of you builds and all of that, those will answer the question on how to carry other people, right? Where you stand. My role today as an entrepreneur is to find people who believe in BasilTree's calling, because I can't be present in front of all clients all the time, right? So it's my job, therefore, to be able to get through to people who are part of the team BasilTree, where they understand what our vision is, who we are, and we are all aligned to that, right? But their personal purpose also needs to be aligned to that of BasilTree's. But if someone doesn't like what we do and that's not the core of who they are, then I'm never going to be able to get through to them, right? And vice versa. So I think that alignment at this stage of your career is probably more important than the sideways one.
Thank you, ma'am.
There's a couple of folks here in the middle. You tell me when we close.
Thank you, ma'am, for this insightful session. And I personally loved when you quoted that careers are not just ladders, they are experimental blocks for you to gather the experience. And so my question is related to that. In our journey of experimenting and exploring careers and different type of domains and jobs, how do we showcase ourselves as potential reliable candidates to the potential recruiters or HRs?
How do you position yourselves?
No, so I mean, when an HR looks at your CV and they see you've worked in a lot of different domains or job roles, then I'm thinking that they would probably doubt if, we'll stick in their organization for a long period or not. So then how do we kind of portray ourselves as a potential good candidate?
If HR is looking for how long you will stay with them, they're doing a bad job of HR. If HR is looking for whether you meet the needs of the role that they are looking for and you will be able to deliver, only then are they doing the job that they are supposed to do. So it's not your job to convince them about your tenure. It's their job to make sure that you stick around long enough so that they give you the right experiences and all the other people stuff that they need to do. Your job is only to deliver. Your job is to deliver functional capability with the right set of leadership competencies to enable that functional capability. Your domain leads and your leadership capabilities support your domain delivery, especially in early part of your careers until you decide whether you will become a generalist or a specialist. That decision will also come to you at some point. We're talking about somebody right next to me, Raman, who's been both, right? You've been on the specialist side of things and a generalist side of things, right? As a CEO and as a technical person. That will come to you as well, and that right interplay will happen through life on domain knowledge and leadership knowledge. But you should not worry about convincing them about your tenure. You only need to convince them about whether you know what you've committed to know about that role.
Two hands up. What I suggest is, all of you ask your questions, and I'm sure there'll be probably some general themes, and Bhawana will then try and take all of them together and respond. Okay?
Sounds good.
Is that okay? Yeah, because we are really running out of time. Yeah. Go ahead. So quickly ask the questions, and then we'll see if there is a common response.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, ma'am. I'll keep it short. My question was that while working on these 4 Ps, what signals can we look out for that shows that we were in the direction that we are heading, in the effort and actions that we are taking, they are working out as intended, and it's not just us being busy and these actions are just noise for us. So what we are doing is going in the right direction.
All the questions? Yeah.
Hi, so I just wanted to ask, because one of the P's that we're talking about today is presence. What rather habits that seem rather trivial but make a big impact would you recommend to women who are starting out young like me, as I'm 21 right now? So what would you recommend to women, young women like us?
Okay, great. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
My question was simple. Consulting is a fairly demanding job. How do you manage your health amidst all of this?
Okay. Yeah. Is there one more? No. Okay. Yeah, there's one more here. Come, let's take that as well.
There's one here as well.
Okay. Last one. Is there one more?
Hi, ma'am. You expressed your love for psychology. I'm simply curious because I'm from psychology as well. What exactly was it about psychology that you continue to practice in your career, or you still apply those concepts? That's it.
Okay. I think that's...
Should we cover those? I'll give you a cognitive capability way more.
I don't know.
Please tell me. I'll try to address the ones ones I remember.
Yeah.
With,
So maybe let's start with the psychology part, you know. I mean,
so I'll
yeah.
pick up 3-4 that I do recall.
Yeah.
Recency effect, so I'll pick up the psychology bit. My work every day is about psychology. That's what we do, right? We are into people assessments, leadership, development, productivity, all of that. So it's all principles of psychology that are getting constantly applied. What drove me to that was a very childlike excitement, because my first experience of it was with my school counselor in Delhi in my school. So that's what got me interested. I thought what she did seemed exciting. I never did anything like that, and I would make a horrible counselor anyway. But so I don't coach, for example. A lot of psychologists make great coaches. I don't think I would make one. I don't, and I don't like to coach. So so I keep out of that. But my business is about the practice of psychology. So that's how I stay close to it. But I'm a very typical techno-commercial person. I'm part psychology, but I'm an entrepreneur. So it's as much marketing, finance, and a whole lot of other stuff. So that's one.
Women in presence.
Women in presence. You should stop making anything about your career about gender. Who was that? Who asked that question? Yeah. Yeah, it's got no bearing on who you're going to be. It needs to matter less and less whether you're a man or a woman. It should make no difference. So do not expect anything, do not seek, do not consider yourself any different. You are a person, that's it, right? And so go out there and have fun, leverage your skill sets, whoever you are. So if you read some of BasilTree's research, there are a few things that over the years have become stereotyped about women and about men. Some of those are research validates a few of those stereotypes, conversation for another day. But that does not mean all women are like that and all men are like the way the research validates them to be. So you don't need to worry about that. You just need to figure who you are, what you enjoy, and go do your best at that. Remove gender from the equation is what my recommendation will be. Yeah.
Health and consulting, heavy workload.
Consulting, yes, consulting is demanding. Frankly, everything is demanding, and especially in today's day and age, I don't think consulting is more cognitively draining on you, because there's multiple things always happening and multiple clients. So to that extent, it is more demanding. And fitness is a vital part, more so today than it ever was. So I would urge you today to make that a part of your existence. I've gone through life being personally, I've been very erratic with fitness. I've always been a cardio person, never built muscle, and now I'm regretting that. So working hard to fix that. What else?
I think there was a first question which was about. I think it was like, how do you authentically kind of exercise or take care of all of this noise versus being truthful? Is that the thing? Yeah. The 4 P's and.
I think what I would say really is, are you constantly building your skill sets and demonstrating those on the job? Because that will always show. If you're constantly reinventing yourself and bringing that to the workplace to be able to deliver whatever your goals are, it will always show, and progression will be natural. Which brings me to the question you asked about going from managerial leadership to the people side of things and becoming a more senior leader. That's a natural progression. You don't really have to create again ladders where that's the step that you move to become that. That will happen in the course of your work with organizations. But visualize the SAP CD game, visualize careers like that a little bit. Yeah. What is so typical about SAP CD? You are not always going upper, no? Yeah. And things will happen that you can't predict. Your company undergoes a merger, suddenly your career path has shifted because they underwent a merger or just plain collapsed. You were doing really well. It's not in your control. So that's like one SAP that brings you down many notches sometimes and is not in your control, right? So you will take on a role maybe that does not suit your needs at that point. Then you will get another opportunity and go right up. Sometimes you will just keep going sideways for a period of time without making incremental or exponential progress or failures. So it's a little bit like that, and you can't just scientifically design everything. This is what my my graph is going to look like, and this is what I will do every 3 years, then you could do that to every aspect of your life until now. Could you? You couldn't, right? So that's not about to change going forward either. So adaptability, openness, agility, learning constantly, those are some things that will stay with you. And if you acquire those skills and you are able to constantly adapt and get new skills to suit whatever the new context is bringing for you, you will keep thriving with wherever you are. Did anybody get left behind or left out? Thank you.
I don't think so. Yeah.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
If I haven't answered any questions, I'm happy to take them offline.
On behalf of KJSIM Institute of Management, I would like to invite Professor Nikhil Mahindru to express our thanks and gratitude towards the guest.
Really? Oh, wow.
I think you can have a seat.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Just before the scroll, I want to share something. You said two interesting things, that reinventing is the new skill, and Dr. Raman is very passionate about parivartan, which is about transformation. So I think in our language, reinventing is transformation.
Indeed.
The other thing is, you said that the move to SHL was a seminal moment for you. That has two implications. The move to SHL as part of Parivartan is a seminal moment for many of them because they gain self-awareness. And I actually spoke to a couple of my colleagues, because I have served SHL, I continue to, about your contribution, and you've actually done a lot along with Dr. Pearl John. So I must say that one piece presence, through the SHL assessments, your presence is still being felt.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
This is a beautiful scroll. I'll try and read with all bhavana. And yeah, so I think it says to Bhawana Mishra, nurturing potential, defining purpose. With insight shaped by psychology's art, she's led with wisdom right from the start. A voice and talent, calm and clear, guiding leaders ear by ear. At Price Waterhouse, her path began, expanding reach with thoughtful plan. Arthur Andersen saw her rise, designing systems bold and wise. At SHL, she made her mark, turning vision into a spark.
Wow.
Across 12 years of steady grace, she led with poise defined the pace. Then came BasilTree, purpose born, to help new leadership be reborn. Global thinking with local feel, crafting strategies sharp and real. From boardrooms high to teams on ground, she helps the voice of talent resound. An architect of change, a trusted name, with every step she lifts the game. An independent voice on boards she serves, with balance, depth and steady nerves. Bhavana's journey is clear to see. She builds the future gracefully.
Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm really overwhelmed. Thank you so much.
You're the architect.
Thank you. Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm going to live with that forever.
So please you come this side.
I'll get rid.
I would also request Ansh to come forward with a coffee mug, which we would like ma'am to sign for us as a special memento.
Oh, wow. This is like current coffee. How cool is that? this? Coffee with Raman. Did you? Oh, wow. I know, I figured that.
Okay, yeah.
I would like to express my heartfelt appreciation to Ms. Mishra for gracing us. Your presence here has been both inspiring and invaluable. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to our director, Dr. Raman Ramachandran, for his invaluable contribution to the first lecture of the third seasons of Careers and Conversations. Your insights have made this event truly remarkable, sir. I would also like to extend my thanks to Arun sir, Arvind sir, Rohit sir, Nikhil sir, Meenal ma'am, the technical team and the support staff for ensuring the success of his event with their commendable efforts. Furthermore, I want to acknowledge the continuous support of Marcom and PR committee and the alumni committee. To everyone present here, the students and the faculty, we extend our thanks for joining us for this informative session and being such a great audience. We will now stop the live stream. We would now request the faculty members to come on stage for a photograph with the guest.